Well, good Wednesday morning, everyone. If you were with me yesterday or with me and Constance yesterday, you'll know that yesterday was a shopping day for us. That's why I did the show uh, from the car like I usually do on Tuesday. But I sort of made the mistake after the show of sitting in the car waiting for Constance to finish her shopping. Now, it reached in downtown Sacramento yesterday, it reached 108. In our backyard, it was closer to 112. And it was pretty hot, even with all the windows open and everything else. It was pretty hot in the car, and I didn't. After the show, I was busy answering emails and other things, and I guess I didn't know how hot my body was really getting because by the time I got home, I was feeling pretty heat strokey, and so I promised Constance I'll go in the air conditioned store next time. But I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, and the temperature is going to reach the same height today, or at least that's what it's forecast. So that's why you sort of see me dressed a little casually this morning. Be that as it may, I'm here and I'm okay, but a little fragile this morning. Yesterday, I came home, and even in this condition, I sat and did a 2-hour Zoom interview for a show of an interview concerning my work and things like that, and I had to look pretty for that. Okay, could barely hold myself together, but anyway, I got to thinking because in the show I was asked about the difference between the old Golden Dawn formula, like magical formula, if you can lump that whole process into one thing that you call a formula or formulae, and the new Aeon point of view of things. And I spent enough time sort of talking about the idea that the old Aeon formula, the formula of IAO and INRI, the formula of life, catastrophe, death, rebirth, that formula, which is a perfectly workable magical formula, and sort of dominated and was dominated from the consciousness of humanity as a whole, where we it was during a period of time when we thought that the sun actually went down and came up, went down at night and came up in the morning, and our deep down inside, we're sort of programmed to seeing, thinking of that in that terms, almost as if the earth was flat and the sun was doing all of that dying and being reborn. And so that seeped into all of our religious expressions and our spiritual worldview. And for perhaps no other reason than the fact that for a few hundred years now, humanity as a whole more or less knows that the sun stays on all the time. It doesn't sound like a big shift in consciousness, but you think about it, it really is a big shift in consciousness. From a flat earth consciousness, which is sort of dominated, if we want to look at it from a technical magical point of view, it's sort of dominated by the four directions of a flat earth: north, south, east, and west, and up and down. And that sort of gives us this, our God is sort of a formulaic pentagram, okay? And see this tree of life here I've quickly drawn here for illustrations. And we could almost look at that projecting as, well, that's sort of it's a way of looking at things, and it's a way of looking at things that gives you a workable foundation on what to stand on. But now we kind of know that the sun stays on, that number 6, that sun stays on all the time. And even though there's a validity to the microcosm, if you will, there's a macrocosm that is sort of dominated by the understanding that the sun stays on all the time. Okay, it was kind of hard to explain. I tried to explain that in the interview yesterday. I don't know how successful I was, but it got me thinking about the initiatory process of Western occultism, and the fact that the Golden Dawn seemed like the absolute summit, the crown of an initiatory experience that exalted, if you will. It was the cream of the crop of the old formula, the old formula of LVX, INRIEAO, kind of thing. And I was trying to explain yesterday that Golden Dawn formula, as opposed to the more grosser, degenerative, decaying aspects of the formula, as demonstrated by the stupidity of the, I guess we'd say, world religions that originally were based on that old formula. The Golden Dawn, on the other hand, in my opinion, represented the very best, okay, the adepts, if you will, of that formula. And that when ages change, it's not necessary to throw the baby out with the bathwater of the previous Aeon, but that baby better be the summit, the crown of that formula. And so we have all over the place various groups that beautifully work with the Golden Dawn formula and have just tweaked it enough to take that next step. So if you want to call it, thelematize the Golden Dawn, using the beautiful Golden Dawn formula as something that doesn't need to be discarded. On the contrary, it needs to be utilized, and in order to take sort of the next step. And that next step is moving the individual's identity from here to here. This, okay, from the microcosm to the macrocosm. And this is where we get the Star of David there. That top point of the Star of David is actually reaching up to the supernal triad into number 3, or the sphere of Saturn. But you see all the other planets with the sun right in the center. So that being, am I rambling? Have pity on me. I've had heat stroke. Okay. Frater Akkad wrote a beautiful, beautiful thing. A real short thing, and I know I've shared it with you before. But had I had this handy in my interview yesterday, I would have read the whole thing, and it would explain things far better than my heat stroke fever dream yesterday. So I'm going to share it with you today. Okay, it's really short. So, Stepping Out of the Old Aeon into the New by Frater Akkad. And it was originally published in the Blue Equinox. That's Equinox 3, volume number 1. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. As all of you should know, we've entered a new aeon. A higher truth has been given to the world. This truth is waiting in readiness for all those who will consciously accept it. But it has to be realized before it is understood. And day by day, those who have accepted this law are trying to live it, realize more and more of its beauty and perfection. The new teaching appears strange at first, and the mind is unable to grasp more than a fragment of what it really means. Only when we're living the law can that fragment expand into the infinite conception of the whole. I want you to share with me one little fragment of this great truth, which has been made clear to me on this Sunday morning. I want you to come with me, if you will, just across the borderline of the old Aeon and gaze for a moment at the new. Then, if the aspect pleases you, you will stay. Or it may be you'll return for a while. But the road, once open and the path plain, you'll always be able to get there again in the twinkling of an eye, just by readjusting your inner sight to the truth. You know how deeply we've always been impressed with the ideas of sunrise and sunset, and how our ancient brethren, seeing the sun disappear at night and rise again in the morning, based their religious ideas on this one conception of a dying and re-arisen God. This is the central idea of the religion of the old Aeon, but we've left it behind us because although it seemed to be based on nature, and nature symbols are always true, yet we've outgrown this idea, which is only apparently true in nature. Since this great ritual of sacrifice and death was conceived and perpetuated, we, through the observation of our men of science, have come to know that it's not the sun which rises and sets, but the earth on which we live, which revolves so that its shadow cuts us off from the sunlight during what we call night. The sun does not die, as the ancients thought. It's always shining, always radiating light and life. Stop for a moment and get a clear conception of this sun, how he is shining early in the morning, shining at midday, shining in the evening, and shining in the night. Have you got this idea clearly in your minds? You have stepped out of the old Aeon and into the new. Now, let us consider what has happened. In order to get this mental picture of the ever-shining sun, what did you do? You identified yourself with the sun. You stepped out of the consciousness of this planet. And for a moment, you had to consider yourself as a solar being. Then why step back again? You may have done so involuntarily because the light was so great that it seemed as darkness. But do it again, this time more fully, and let us consider what changes in our concept of the universe will be. The moment we identify ourselves with the sun, we realize that we have become the source of light, that we too are now shining gloriously. But we also realize that that sunlight is no longer for us, for we can no longer see the sun any more than our little old Aeon consciousness we could see ourselves. All around us is perpetual night, but it is the starlight of the body of Our Lady Nuit, in which we live and move and have our being. Then, if we, from this height, we look back upon the little planet Earth, of which we just a moment ago were part, and think of ourselves as shedding our light upon all those little individuals that we've called our brothers and sisters, the slaves that shall serve, that serve. But we do not stop there. Imagine the sun concentrating his rays for a moment on one tiny spot of the earth. What happens? It's burnt up, it's consumed, it disappears. But in our solar consciousness is truth, and though we glance for a moment at that little sphere we have left behind us, and it is no more, yet there's that which remains. What remains? What has happened? We realize that every man and every woman is a star. We gaze around at our wider heritage. We gaze at the body of Our Lady Nuit. We're not in darkness. We are much nearer to her now. What from the little planet look like little specks of light are now blazing like other great suns, and these are truly our brothers and sisters, whose essential starry nature we had never before seen and realized. These are the remains of those we thought we left behind. There's plenty of room here. Each one travels in his true path. All is joy. Now, if you want to step back into the old Aeon, do so. But try to bear in mind that those around you are, in reality, suns and stars, not little shivering slaves. If you are not willing to be a king yourself, still recognize that they have a right to kingship, even as you have, whenever you wish to accept it. And the moment you desire to do so, you have only to remember this. Look at things from the point of view of the sun. Love is the law, love under will. Once again, that is by Frater Akkad. It was first published in the Equinox, Volume 3, Number 1, often referred to as the Blue Equinox, along with Frater Akkad's Panticle and other very interesting goodies. Well, that's it for today. At the moment, I'm cool enough sitting here with the fan on, but I'm going to try to make it through the day okay and get a lot of water in me. And I suggest you do the same if you're anywhere near where the sun is baking us. So until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other, and look at everything from the point of view of the sun. And you'll have moved from there to there. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.